Go.
We're in.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Wednesday, April 9th monthly meeting, the Board of Trustees. Sorry to keep you waiting. Laura, I forgot that you were going to be online. I was waiting for you to walk in the door. Sorry about that. I would like to open our meeting with a moment of silence to honor the life of beloved village resident Charmaine Choi, taken from us unexpectedly over the weekend. Charmaine was a great light in the community, and she will be very much missed. She has left a lasting legacy in the room. She was a very talented designer and was part of the design team that reimagined our village seal. She drew the beautiful bandstand at its center. We're grateful for that, but more importantly, we are grateful for having had her as a neighbor and a friend. So if we could just take a moment. Thank you. Okay, announcements. Yard waste, it's finally here, put it out tonight. The week of April 14th to 18th, while the school is on spring break, will be a busy week. We'll talk about it in detail when we go to departments, but just letting everyone know that there will be paving and water main flushing going on at the same time. And they are coordinated and they're working together, so we're not gonna blast out new pavement with water flushes. We'll come to the details of each with the departments. Opportunity to request to vote or modify agenda items. Any requests? Or any announcements I should ask first? Hit them all? Okay. Any requests? Okay. We'll begin with the public hearing for the budget. So we have a two-part meeting tonight. Public hearing for the budget and then our monthly meeting. Let me know when you're up and ready. Are you able to see? Well, okay. All right.
Probably share the screen.
Almost ready.
And we're live.
Are you seeing it online, folks? Can somebody give a thumbs up?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. So, this is the tentative budget overview. We've been working since the end of February, beginning of March, toward tonight. The budget is balanced and ready for public review. Fiscal year 2026 runs June 1st, 2025 to May 31st, 2026. But at the next, before we talk about the budget for the coming year, I want to just review a couple of the highlights from the fiscal year we're just finishing up. So June 1st, 2024 to May 31st, 2025. We are still in that. So among the highlights, we secured FEMA and New York State funding for the July 2023 storms. We completed engineering and seeker review for the Fair Street updates. That is out to bid. And we are using the gerund of pave because we will be paving multiple streets using CHIPS and related funding coming in the second week of April. We improved the application and permitting process and services for residents. We operationalized Main Street parking and resident parking programs and began collecting occupancy tax. We had a good year on the grant side. We secured $2.5 million for the upper reservoir repairs and about $200,000 from NYSERDA for vehicle and facilities upgrades. And really that is all Trustee Bosey. And last, we negotiated a 6-year PBA contract, which gives us stability and predictability for a bit longer. So how do we build the budget? It's a collaboration between the staff and the trustees with public input. It's a process of drafting, revising, and improving. We do it through a multi-workshop process. So I think this is we've had five to date, I think. Tonight is 6. And we set goals to work from. So goal 1 was staying within the New York State tax cap. Goal 2 was being transparent, which we have been through a series of public sessions and tonight. Focusing on critical infrastructure upgrades and planning for the capital projects that are ahead. We have a capital project plan, and now we are working toward major upgrades. So we'll get this over with because it's a big question that everybody asks. We are within the New York State tax cap. And this was an achievement, and I think we all owe a great debt of gratitude to Michelle in particular and to Greg for getting us to where we are in this budget. The costs in every sector are skyrocketing. And we all know that it's the same for every household and business in the village. We're all in these uncertain times together. So we shaped the budget carefully to address rising costs, prepare for major capital projects that will be underway in this coming fiscal year, and stay within the cap. There are 3 funds in the budget: the general fund, the water fund, and the wastewater fund. You'll see it referred to as sewer in some of the documents as well. Sewer and wastewater are the same. It's a total budget of $5,314,422. We're going to talk through each of the funds, but let's give you some highlights. So we have planned for on the infrastructure repairs and upgrades portion, complete construction engineering for the upper reservoir, complete the Fair Street repairs from the July 2023 storm, engineer the repairs and upgrades that are required at Fishkill and Mountain. On the roadways and facilities side, we added a laborer, and that position will be shared between, it's a full-time laborer, and it will be shared between water and wastewater and roadways and facilities. So 50% of that salary comes out of the general fund. We'll be adding pedestrian amenities, and we will have about 200, and I think it's 35, a little more than 200,000 left in our paving budget. So we hope to be able to do more paving as the summer goes on. On the parking and visitor manager side, we're proposing to add 2 more meters to make it easier for people to use and easier to see, to improve the parking signage and install wayfinding signage at critical locations. And once we have the short-term rental ordinance updated, expand occupancy taxes to those as well. Under administration and employees, it seems like a small thing, but it's actually a really big thing. Completing the review and update of the employee benefits and policies handbook. That project will have budget implications in years to come, but doing that work, completing it, will set us in good stead for a future budget. And then grants, it's really, the times are very uncertain. We don't know what's going to happen at the federal or the state level. But we're going to keep responding to whatever requests for grant proposals there are. We will get. Under the general fund. So the revenue side, are we on the revenue side?
Yeah.
Greg, you mentioned shrinking the videos, the horizontal line on the video thumbnails.
Sure.
Yeah, just this.
Awesome, thank you. So general fund revenue, the majority of it is property taxes. It also includes our regular state aid, like the CHIPS program and AIMS, permits and fees, parking meter fees, grants that we secure, and fines, among other things. There are miscellaneous revenue in there as well. On the expenses side, the general fund funds the majority of village operations and services. So that's all of the clerical operations within Village Hall, standing board operation, permit processing, reporting and compliance, roadways and facilities, parks and recreation, and police and fire services. The largest chunk of that budget is salaries and benefits. So just to give you a look, we've seen this before in other sessions, but this is the current condition of Fair Street. It's not super legible here, but to show you, we do have a plan in place. This is a small piece of the overall plan for the Fair Street upgrades, which will replace culverts, catch basins, et cetera, and reinstall a parking lot separating pedestrians from traffic. That is our big project for which we are preparing. Moving on to the waterfront. It's funded by flat rates and user fees. And on the expense side, salaries and benefits, purification, chemicals, et cetera. Ban principal and interest on the remaining bans. Yeah, those are the operations of the big side. Now the big news. So we are preparing on the water side for the repairs, beginning of repairs at the upper reservoir. It's a roughly $8 million project. And so we have secured a $2.5 million grant, but to help us get there, we are increasing the flat rate for water by 50% and the user fees to 5%. This will help us accrue funds toward that project. It's standard practice when municipalities are facing big infrastructure projects. So this is a jump, but it is a jump that we need to take in order to address the upper reservoir.
Those are the quarterly rates listed, right?
Quarterly rates.
To the quarter.
Yep. Thank you for clarifying. The next, just so to orient everybody, this is the dam in an aerial view, the upper reservoir. It's out roughly at the corner of Lake Surprise Road and Foundry Pond. Where the blue letters are, that is the upper reservoir. The lower portion is the lower reservoir. And then we have 3 more impoundments downstream from there. And this is what it looks like. That's current condition. The dam that was built in 1865 for the foundry, around 1865 for the foundry. The village bought it in 1922 as its primary water supply, but did not buy any land around it. So we own a very thin strip of area around the dam. And part of the getting this work done has been acquiring rights that we need to be able to access with large equipment. So as I said, we've got $2.5 million so far from the DEC and a WQIP grant. And then the balance will be a mix of user rates and bonds and low interest loans, but we're finally getting rolling this year. On the sewer side, wastewater, it's also funded by flat rates and fees, the largest percentage. The expenses are related to running the system and staying within regulatory requirements. The facility is more than 50 years old, so things break and break frequently. Can't think of the number of times that we had additions to the agenda this year for repairing equipment. So it's expensive to keep it going. And on the rate side, sewer rates also will be rising, but not as dramatically as water. It is a 6% increase in the flat and the user rate, and it will help us to offset higher operating costs and maintain our capacity to give high quality water service. Not very glamorous talking about wastewater, but it is the primary way that the village helps protect the river, is having a functional sewer plant. So that is my presentation. Any questions from the board or the staff before we go to public comment? Well, I would make a motion to open the public hearing. All in favor? Aye. Are there any members of the public online or in the room who care to comment?
Any question about the water rates? The outer village people. Do they pay, they're paying a 50% more?
Slightly
to-
higher, right? Michelle, can you confirm the amount difference between outside of village users and the village?
It's 1.5 times the rate. So if you see the 99, I think 0.30 times 1.5 for out of district.
Do we maintain, might be a lot of questions.
Okay.
Are we responsible for maintaining all those pipes that run out of the village? Or does that go on the users that are out there?
So we are responsible for the mains, and property owners are responsible for the service lines from the main to the structure.
So let's say Bank Street, for instance. There's a line there that goes down under the stream, goes up on the other side, and feeds those houses over there. We're responsible for that, or the main is on the street? This is just a curiosity.
Wait, can you say it again? You, from the middle of the street, the main is roughly in the middle of the
Right.
street. So every time there is a branch off to a property, from the main to that property is the property owner's
Yeah, it
responsibility.
covers like, I think 5 houses on the other side of the bridge.
Oh, in Nelsonville, you mean? Is that what you're asking?
No, the other side of the
Can you
bridge.
translate?
Off of 9D,
For
where
a
it
minute
crosses
there. Oh, on
the-
Peekskill.
the creek over there. And then it goes out.
Yeah, it goes up Peekskill, but then it jumps back over 9D to the Gilbo Lane, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Got it. So within the village boundaries,
So if that line goes bad, that's on them guys,
the mains are with us.
which is on
Same,
Bank.
same as in the village. The mains are with us. The mains are our responsibility. The service lines, whether you're in the village or outside of the village, it's the same responsibility.
Thank you.
Yep. Anyone else? Okay, I will make a motion to hold the public comment period open until the end of the meeting in case anyone joins and wants to make a response. All in favor? Aye. And, how does the board feel about leaving written comment open until Friday, close of business Friday? Okay, so I'll make that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we'll move on to our regular meeting. So the staff have a variety of, each of them had conflict, almost all of them had a conflict this evening, so we don't have a lot of staff with us. So I'm sorry that you're gonna be listening to my voice a lot. Starting with the highway department, we'll get into details about the paving project. The streets are Benedict from 9D, just past the intersection with Marion, Lunn from Main, 250 feet back. The boulevard, the length of the boulevard to where the public road ends. Cedar Street Spur and Mountain down sort of midway between Locust Ridge and Orchard, capturing that school intersection. So it's weather dependent. Those days are the days it's happening, but we don't know exactly when or where people will be, but you'll see that there'll be cones going out the night before asking for no parking. So that will be your clue. And I also want to recognize one of the crew members, Mo Williams, rebuilt. We had 2 vehicles, one that had a good engine and cab, and one that had a good back end. And we didn't have money this year to buy a new vehicle, and he was able to save the village a lot of money by taking the pieces that were still good and combining them into a new truck. And buying us a few more years. So I just want to say thank you and congratulations to Mo. There's another exciting thing happening on the highway side. Bugsy just sent a draft and we'll have it on an upcoming agenda. I need to share it out to the trustees to read. The highway superintendents across the county, the 6 towns and the 3 villages, have been working together to develop a mutual aid agreement that we all sign on, and with the county, so that we don't have to do this every time we have a project where someone's coming in to help, we have to sign an IMA. This would cover, all of us in perpetuity, and the other plus is that it allows us to share equipment more readily, rather than all of us buying a Vector machine, a Vector truck. It can be shared among. The challenge is that everybody needs the Vector truck at the same time in the fall, but it's certainly better than the no Vector truck that we have right now. We rent that every year. So hats off to Bugsy, he's been working on that. On the water and wastewater side, the hydrant flush is happening that same week, the 14th to the 18th. You can expect pressure drops and decoloration, temporary. It starts roughly east and moves west, so it starts up at the top of the system in Nelsonville and goes down to the river. It's done in sectors, and it will be, as I said, coordinated with the paving. We do have one request from Matt tonight. We don't actually, it's not a number that we need to vote on as a board because it's within our procurement policy for public works, but he's letting us know that there's a hydrant that needs to be repaired on Fair Street. And we did not bid it because he doesn't need to at this amount. So it's $2,800 for the repair of the hydrant at the end of Fair Street adjacent to Route 9. Discussion? Would anyone like to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve the expense of $2,800 for hydrant repair. As per this quote. Dated April 1st.
Yeah, you do.
Oh, okay.
There you go, it's right there. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. On the police side, both police and fire report that March was long, but short on calls. So it's nice to have a quiet report. On the fire side, I want to thank the chief. I think it's really great that he's giving us, as his report, he's giving us their internal monthly report. So we have a fuller sense of what they're doing and training, etc. I appreciate it a lot. They are transitioning their training to drills designed for the needs of the community during the spring and the summer. Already, if it ever gets warm again. And I also would like to join the chief in recognizing the passing of Ralph Landolfi. He was a 66-year life member of the company, his former chief. He was the county emergency services coordinator, and he was a village trustee, 1972 to 74. Thank you for his service and thank you to his family. Justice Court, 5 defendants and 5 charges, for a total of $33,061, including fines, forfeited bails, civil penalties, and parking tickets, civil fees.
Do we know if we're catching up on the backlog? The very high number of the parking tickets compared to previous month. I mean, it's good if we're catching up on backlog, obviously.
We are catching up on backlog, and remember too, that the collection letters went out. So a group,
Oh, I see.
if I'm not accurate, feel free to interrupt, but old tickets that had not yet been paid are now coming. They're coming in with fees by the collection. Okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
Okay, on to standing boards. Obviously, March was quiet. I wanted to, I'm unclear, under board business for the HDRB, and make a reference to the board voted to place all fees associated with the HDRB applications into the existing escrow account that will be drawn from as needed to cover the cost of newspaper advertisements associated with future public hearings. This is not a decision that board makes if they're changing fees, etc. So we need to have a catch up with them. I know that Abigail has reported that the application fees are not covering costs. And the board, HDRB was hesitant to increase them. We did discuss broadly the idea of leaving regular application fees as they are, but raising the cost for public hearing. That's where the big loss is on the required advertising. I don't understand what they're proposing here, but that needs to come to us as a proposal and we set fees.
I'm just, for what it's, you might be right, I don't see this as changing the fees, but just how the fees are accounted for or which bank account they're in.
But
But
sorry.
I'm not sure.
I think it's them thinking about, because we had talked about, this is when I say we, I mean the clerk and the vice chair and I had talked about, the fact that for all of the other boards, there is an escrow when you make an application. And you pay in and the fees are drawn down from that for attorney, the planner, if we need them, for the engineer. It's not as common on the HDRB to need that level of professional support. So this may be them trying to be creative and not have to go down the escrow path. But I think that consistency, I think we've talked about this before, consistency among the boards would be, I think would be better. Your thoughts?
Let's just ask them what their intention was.
And we also want to be there and notice that they're also building out a new database. We need to make sure that that's living on the village server. Okay, zoning board had no meetings in March, so no report. Planning board had no meetings, so no report, no new business. The tree board did meet, but was not able to get a report in. A couple of things, they're planning an Arbor Day celebration for Friday, April 25th. It's usually small and sweet and involves small people. They're continuing the removal of dead trees and tree pruning under the grant. And I want to say thank you to the chair and that board because they assisted in the planning for the paving project up on Mountain Avenue. There is, I'm sad to say, a really beautiful Japanese maple that still leaves out and is beautiful, especially at the end of the fall. It's one of the last ones to turn, but it is rotted at its core and it is a super tripping hazard. So it had already been marked for removal. So it is coming down probably tomorrow. So we were able to make that decision based on the inventory that the tree board had put together. We had a resource to draw from. And we're going to continue conversation with Jen and come back to the trustees about possible experimentation with some tree saving measures on Locust Ridge. More to come on that. On the Recreation Commission, Aaron noticed what I missed. There is an error in the way the sentence is structured. Do we have Jeff Amato with us? We do. Hey, Jeff.
Hi, how are you?
Hi. Oh, we're well. We're going to talk about Community Day, the scheduling of Community Day, as it is in your report. But there's a conflict in the language, so we want to make sure that we have it right. You proposed June 21st, the week after graduation, right?
That's correct.
Okay, and you reviewed that with the OIC. There is another large event happening in the village that day at St. Mary's. But Officer Jackson felt that because of the timing of the events, it would be all right. Do you want to talk us through a couple of quick things? Why you're proposing to move Community Day, what your thinking is?
Sure. So from the feedback we got from last year, the thought was to have it on a non-holiday weekend to try and get more residents who are not away on vacation. And then to try and avoid some of the hotter days of the year because it was very hot last year. And then also try to do it while school is still in session so that some of the school organizations can participate because there was not a lot of participation last year from them. And that was kind of the feedback we got was because it was when school was out. And so those were the thought processes that went into it. We're scaling it back a little bit, and instead of having a parade and fireworks like we did for the 4th. It will just be a community day event, and it will be in Dockside Park um, completely. So not along the entire waterfront, but only in Dockside Park, um, with music, live music, games, bouncy houses, food, drinks, basically everything that we had except just condensed within Dockside Park. The start time we're proposing is at from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. So the two events at St. Mary's, well, there's one event, but there's two time periods from 12 to 2 and then from 3 to 5. So by staggering that start time, we hope to avoid a conflict with traffic or flow through the village. But the OIC felt that because the events were on different sides of the village, and with a staggered time, we should be shouldn't be any concerns.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Or comments?
Thank you.
Yeah, I think, I mean, last year was ridiculously hot, so I think this makes sense. And also I think making this space, kind of condensing it, is really helpful, especially with people with littles running around back and forth. Being able to keep an eye, but not having to be in the bouncy house at the same time would be appreciated. So thank you, guys.
Yeah, and also it's less impact on the residents down there. We're not having to close streets in the same way. I like the way you've been working as a board to review events, take feedback and make changes. So I appreciate that, the time you're spending. And I agree with Tweeps on the density. When we had Community Day on Main Street, it was quite concentrated in a small area, and it just felt it felt more fun with more people in a small area. Plus, I mean, the dockside is just beautiful. So, would someone like to make a motion approving the date?
Sure. I'll make a motion to approve the date for Community Day 2025 for June 21st, 2025.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, Jeff. Is there anything else from your part of the world that you wanted to talk about?
I don't think we're ready for the other things, right, Greg? We're going to hold off on that until next week.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. See you then.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Report of the mayor and the board of trustees. Anyone have any report they would like to make? I think Laura has an update for us on the CCA.
Yeah, I have two things. So one on our community choice aggregation coordinator, Jewel, shared an update. You might remember the huge billing problems with Central Hudson a few years ago. So they led a lawsuit on behalf of the CCA participating municipalities and reached a settlement that will result in all of the participants. So if you were a household that participated in that CCA over the last couple of years, you'll receive a check of about $50. And so that's the kind of total amount divided by all of the participants. The checks will be mailed on April 18th, and they'll void after 90 days. And it will reference the name of the lawsuit, Town of Socrates et al. Versus Columbia Utility Power. Oh, I guess it was, I misspoke. I'm sorry. It was Columbia Utilities. It wasn't Central Hudson. Anyway, look out for a $50 check. Don't throw it away. So that's good news. I'm glad to have that resolved. Any questions about that?
No questions about that, but I have questions about the status of the rate lock-in. There was an email recently saying that they still are not advising a lock-in, correct?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't know where this is going to land. I feel like every moment prices are changing and including on energy. So I don't know what to expect. At this point, we're still in the CCA because the contract, we're under our current contract, I think, until June. Um, the
Go
other
ahead.
to bring up is that we have partnered with a nonprofit called CET to do a free waste like reduction assessment for the village. And so they're going to come visit us in April and look especially at our food scrap bin and at our trash and recycling bins along Main Street and give us recommendations on how to reduce waste and make our processes more efficient. And they've offered this service to all of the businesses in Phillipstown. So, you know, restaurants or other businesses that are interested in getting this kind of free consultation. And I know that a number of them have already taken them up on this offer.
How did you find them or did they find you?
So this was thanks to villager Jeff Michelson.
Oh, cool.
Reached out to them as part of our effort to, with the chamber and others, to look at food scrap recycling for food businesses. And so they came to our workshop a couple weeks ago, and they have a like a contract through the state to provide these services.
Fantastic. When will we know of their findings?
They're coming on April 22nd, and then I don't know what the turnaround time is, but I'll share the findings afterwards.
We need to make sure they see photographs from the summer. Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
I'm continuing to work on the website, changes. We do need a new website, this year. Sure, several years, but, so working with Jeff now, and we'll look at a second. Greg.
I do it too. It's
Very sorry, Jeff. The, so, you know, we're still looking at that, plan. We do need to move pretty quickly here to get started.
when is your walkthrough
It's,
session?
it's scheduled, the
22nd?
22nd is what I thought. Yeah, I gotta see if we can accelerate that with them.
I'm around.
Yeah, okay, good.
Awesome. Thank you. So excited about a new website.
Yeah, it'll be slower and more expensive than you wanted.
Of course, everything is. I just very brief. I went to a legislative meeting, county legislature last Monday night. It was April Fool's Day. It was bananas. It was just bananas. But the outcome, you'll recall that all of the town supervisors and village mayors have been lobbying together for sales tax sharing. There is a shifting appetite for it among legislators. I'm happy to say that our legislator Nancy Montgomery has some colleagues on this. Legislator Goldman is supportive, Legislator Crowley, Legislator Russo, Nancy, four. Yeah, and there's four and a half, I guess. Legislator Ulmer is on the fence. So, look, it's not great news, but it's not no. There was a very robust conversation by the legislators, and public comments by the supervisor of the town of Pup Valley and me, and there were many people in the room, but a number of other elected officials. We don't know when it's next going to be on an agenda. If it will be on an agenda, but it'd be good for us to go, if there is further discussion, to go in force. The county executive, they did the other piece, so sharing was one piece they took up. The other question they took up was sales tax itself. The sales tax is a default 3%, and every 3 years, in the same way that we ask to continue occupancy tax, the county asks to continue an additional 1% local tax, sales tax. And there were competing proposals, one to reduce that amount to 0.75, which would have been the equivalent of roughly a $22 million loss for the county. still like numbers I can't even begin to get my head around, given what we do on the money we do. There were counter proposals back and forth, including the full 4, which is what the legislators who are advocating for tax sharing are advocating, that we keep the 1% and that 1% be the part that's shared out to us.
Because if they reduce the sales tax rate, that's less surplus,
Correct.
less money that could be distributed to the locale.
Thank you for saying it in a far more succinct way. Where are they going with that? So it did not, it passed at 0.75, a reduction of 0.25 to 3.75. County executive has said that he will veto it. So I don't know, I guess we'll see what happens next. But at least things are shifting in the right direction, finally. Conversation.
Okay, I hope so.
I know, well, I'm wanting to be hopeful. Okay, on to board business.
Wanna-
Oh, sorry, Bob, you walked in. Sorry, I was looking at you and went right past you. A report from our municipal partners in town of Phillipstown. Sorry, thank you,
Very
Andrew.
good. We had our last one, we had Molly Franco from Community Engagement Coordinator from POWR Against Tobacco and Vaping. She gave us a presentation. Really didn't make any, we didn't make any decisions or anything yet. I'm assuming she'd come down and talk to you too.
We haven't heard from her yet.
Okay, sounded like she was making her rounds. So.
Okay.
Introduction to the Phillipstown Hub Executive Michelle Cooper, very nice lady. You know, it's the first time I met her, but she seems very good and very nice, seems very friendly and very outgoing. So I think it's a good thing. I guess she's on the Haldane School Board as well. And they said there's no conflict of interest there. She made that clear, which is good. Max Garfinkel gave us MS4 annual storm report. That report should now be up on our website page. If anyone, we're gonna have to have a public hearing regarding it. We usually do, and no one ever shows up, but anyway, we'll have that.
We know the feeling.
Resolution imposing a 6-month moratorium on land use approvals of oil and petroleum storage. That's the meeting I was just on, so that's why I was late. So we passed that for another 6 months moratorium. We should hopefully have this completed before the next 6 months is over. We donated $300 to the Nelsonville Fishing for Kids Fishing Derby, which is scheduled for May 4th. Which is always a nice event. So, you know, it's always it's really great for the kids. I used to bring my kids here every year, so if anybody can make it, please do so. Discussion about the building inspector increasing our fees for the village of Cold Spring and Nelsonville to 2%. You're well aware of that, right?
Yes, starting June 1st.
Yeah. Discussion, the creation of the committee exploring short-term rentals. We kind of like put this tabled. We're gonna bring this up at a workshop. Garrison Water update. We need to connect the last part of the pipe to our water treatment plant. Pipe is right there. It's got like another 15 feet to go, but we can't do that until the Board of Health gives us the completion of all our work. We should have this water hopefully completed in mid-May. I was hoping we were gonna have this done by end of February, but obviously I was wrong. So anyway, so we're making good progress on that and everything's in place. So hopefully there's only one more piece that needs to be done, but that's not stopped us, preventing us from going forward. There's a communications cable, fiber optic cable that needs to be installed from one end to the other. Andrew Padala ordered that. He should have that in hopefully this week, and that would do that hooks our controls up and shows well number 1, well number 2 to pump water and so forth like that. But again, that's not stopping us to move forward on this. So that's it. That's all I have.
You had a pretty significant leak at your water tower at the.
Oh, yeah, well,
restaurant.
okay, yes, that's in the process of being worked on. It's gonna take several months to fix that too. From what I understand, I haven't been down there, but we did bring a water storage. We brought a big container in and filled that with our own water, so so they can work on it.
So don't waste the water.
Not wasting any water.
Yeah,
So,
Matt Krug showed some photographs. It's pretty, it's pretty.
If you,
pretty
the
dramatic.
first time I went down, it was like it was raining. That's crazy. Anyway, water's not our best friend anymore, for us, for down in Phillipstown.
It's an expensive friend.
Yes, it's.
Thank you. Okay, now we'll move on to board business. This is a continuance of the commercial duty memorandum of agreement between Cold Spring and the Cold Spring PBA. This is when there are details for which the village is paid a permit fee, a contract payment, or is otherwise paid or reimbursed by a third party for municipal expenses incurred for a commercial event or occasion. This has been refined over what we had in the pilot project last year when we were working on films, because we've had a couple of needs for commercial details for much smaller things. There was a modular home that got delivered at the end of Kemble, and it took a huge amount of coordination to get the objects down that street. Had to be broken into pieces and traffic control to get them down there. What was the other thing for construction delivery?
delivery.
That needed traffic control. So, those aren't things that are necessary. They don't need as much time. And so the recommendation from, PBA and the OIC was to break the increments, the minimum increments, into large operations and smaller operations. So it's the same rate as last year, $80 an hour for the line officers and $125 for the supervisor. And a parallel pay for the patrol officer during the commercial detail discussion. Make a motion. Do we have to read this? You're authorizing me to sign, okay.
Make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign the memorandum of agreement regarding the commercial detail.
That's it. Second?
Second.
No, you.
Oh,
you
yeah,
made it.
sorry. We do it all, so.
I'll second.
Thank you.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, and then the last is Crate Escape. Dana Resi wants to park in front of the coffee house like she did last year. She's asked for 4 dates. There aren't conflict. She's asked for 1 date among 4. There's no conflict with any of those dates. I'm inclined to just let her choose which day she wants.
Need a commercial detail from the police department.
We don't, it's just Dana and a table and some raffle tickets. How do you feel about the proposal? Letting her choose? Is that all right? Okay. Make a motion.
Make a motion that we approve, one of the 4 dates of May 31st, June 1st, June 7th, June 8th at the applicant's discretion, for a fundraiser at the space next to the coffee house.
Well structured. Seconds? Did you say second?
I did.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so now we need to come back to the public hearing. And I don't see any new bodies. Any additional comment on the budget? Okay, so I will make a motion to close the in-person public hearing, in-person and online public hearing for the budget. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And can I make a motion before about Friday?
Yes.
Yeah, so we don't need to do that. All right, that's it. Motion to adjourn. All in favor? Oh,
That's okay.
yes.
The village website,
So, sorry, I didn't ask this before. Name and address for the record?
Tony Bartis, 32 Bank Street. The village website used to have, all the boards and committees, and then it had their email addresses next to them. That seems to have disappeared off the website. Because I had someone had a question for me, and I said, go on, go there, send me an official email, and then I'll hand it to the right people. But there's all those contact information is gone.
It's because the boards don't have assigned government addresses. So we ask that people contact the clerk.
Oh, I have one, but it's not a sign. It's a Gmail address that I got. It's,
Right, it's not a .gov. It's not a .gov.
Correct,
So
correct.
your board has its own, the CTAB uses its own emails for,
no, we set it up. I got one, Jen got one. We just did a Gmail thing. You know, it's like, to
For
Tony.
you all to
JAB
communicate,
at CSTAB.
for you to communicate on your board
Right,
topics.
I believe it was listed there at one time, but it's not now.
That's why, is that they're not .gov addresses, they're not government addresses. And so we ask that people contact the boards through the clerk.
So
Through the clerk.
how do you get, I tried getting, you can't get in touch with the tree board. You can get in touch with like you guys.
Right, because we don't want people, because they're volunteers,
Oh, so
we don't want people
Oh, I see. So we'll
corrupting
go through
the tree board members. We want them to go through the clerk.
Oh, so go
Yeah.
through him, then he. That's not a bad idea. Okay.
Because otherwise
Yeah.
Jen gets overloaded with.
Got it. So is it still okay to use the addresses we have set up, or would that be improper?
It's something we haven't really talked about. I believe, and is Michelle still here? I believe the reason the boards don't have .gov addresses is the cost of assigning, because
There were licensing.
there's licensing
Michelle's
issues.
here.
Hi, we were asked a question that has not to do with budget, but with email addresses for standing boards. My recollection is we have not used them in the past because of licensing, the cost.
I'm not sure about tree board. The standing boards have one generic one with at coldspring.gov. I'm not sure if Tab has one.
So you're saying that you're not seeing the one address on the board,
I'm not saying for anybody for a way to get in touch with the tree board, but I guess it goes through the clerk, so I would tell somebody.
I'm learning something tonight because
If you got a question about trees and want to get something in there, route it through what are the things where it has what is your question? It's on the.
there's an application.
Yeah.
online.
So that's the way they would do it.
But Michelle, I did not realize that there was one email for
I'm
each
not
board.
sure the utilization of it. But they are there and it's to have that one is a minor monthly fee. It's the teams and the licensing for in-office staff where the larger cost comes.
Okay, well, I think we should revisit that. Just so that you know, anytime you're using a personal or a non-GOV for board members, if you're using a non-GOV address, but conducting village business, that email account is still subject to FOIL. So when we got, when the Butterfield lawsuit was going on, all of our HDRB members had to turn over all of their email. It's certainly much easier and cleaner if it's part of the village server, right?
Tony, I think you said the members of the tree board created special Gmail addresses just for board business.
Exactly.
So it's not quite a personal
Exactly,
address.
thank you.
Yeah, we just use them for tree board business.
I think that's smart.
But then it's hard for somebody to get in touch with us.
Yeah, if somebody wants to look at the email, you don't have to give your personal account up, you just give.
Yeah, no, we wouldn't want that.
What I don't know is if that pattern is consistent across the other boards. I know that the chair and the vice chair of HDRB have set up, lauren.hdrb@gmail.
Wanna go digging?
Well, no, I'm wondering if that recommendation is smart for all boards, so that I don't have to dig. If they were foiled, they wouldn't have to be digging through their personal accounts.
I think it makes sense as to set a standard for the village of, what we recommend, yeah.
Well, it goes a long way for transparency too. 'Cause if somebody can't get in touch, even if it's a minor issue, it's like, I can't even get in touch with them. I was like dealing with the IRS. Well,
Hopefully it's,
almost.
we're here, we're actually here.
I'm sorry.
Okay. No motion, thank you for raising that. Motion to adjourn? All in favor?
That's the lady I see. There you go.
There you go.
Good night.